it worth it? Is it for the future? The family. I want more. I want freedom. I'm purpose driven for equality. You're gonna know my name. I'm still the same. Ain't nothing changed. You're gonna know I am good. Respect me and my legacy. And I wish you would Google me, read my story. You're gonna know my name. Welcome to the Face Behind the Brand. Episode 129. Hope everybody's good. I have an amazing recording artist, designer, singer, songwriter with us tonight. Welcome, 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 welcome to the Face Behind the Brand. I am your host, Monique Marie, and you are the incredible singer, songwriter, designer of West Coast culture, producer, engineer, recording artist, Wes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you. Beautiful weather out. Enjoying the weekend.
Well, you know, I had to bring you into this incredible release. If You Were Gone. I love this sound, by the way.
Thank you so much.
I'm not going to play the whole song, of course. You know, I got to let everybody go and run and download it themselves. Again, of course, that's just a little bit of course, who we are interviewing tonight, Wes from the West Coast. If You Were Gone. So what's the weather like where you are?
It's about 75 or so in Oregon right now.
Oh my God. Okay, okay. That's not too bad, huh? A little bit of wind breeze out there.
What was that?
A little bit of breeze, a little bit of wind for you?
Yeah. It gets a little humid, but it's nice. It's beautiful.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's always good. Well, welcome to the Face Behind the Brand. I'm so glad to see you tonight. I want to give, of course, a special shout out to Adrian Howdeggy, you know, who, of course, allowed me, of course, it's an incredible introduction to you. You know, I met Adrian a couple of years ago, interviewed him, and it's just been an amazing, of course, building a relationship. So shout out to AJ and those folks over at Voyage Music Group and Love Pulse. You also just signed, of course, to Voyage Music Group. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Talk about it. What's that feel like?
It's been awesome to get someone that discovered me and just kind of believed in me without having, you know, a lot to show for it quite yet, but just enough to kind of get his interest. And it was a really cool opportunity, and I'm trying to make the most of it. And Adrian's a super cool guy, and he's taught me a lot already. So it's been a really cool start to a journey that I didn't think was really in the cards. Like, but yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. So you mentioned are you from Oregon, Wes?
Yeah, born and raised here. pretty much lived here my whole life. So
Okay, okay. And so I know when we spoke the first time, we talked about, of course, growing up, singing and all these things and who was around you. I want to know, when did you realize, of course, your love for sound and music?
yeah, I kind of got started late in music, but the
Mhm.
first thing that drew me to music was like type beats on YouTube.
Yeah,
I listened to a lot of like internet money producers, and I kind of just started uploading beats to YouTube and trying to be like them and watching their tutorials and everything, and
yeah.
um, kind of like using. I remember I started on like GarageBand on my iPhone, just making beats and stuff,
Oh, wow.
and that kind of gave me um, a little more insight to how music is created, how certain tracks are put together, and so it just kind of opened up like a whole new world to music that I didn't really know existed.
Yeah. Well, incredible. I brought you in, of course, to If You Were Gone, your latest release. You've had a very busy 2022, I should say,
Yeah,
already. Talk to me about If You Were Gone and this process, the sound, and how, of course, this came about.
yeah. So the beat actually, half of it was made by, or a little more than half actually, was made by Rebel Music. I was just going through YouTube beats to get inspiration, and um, I ended up writing a chorus to it like a couple of years back before I was really trying to be a singer or anything. And I kind of put it to the side because I was just focused on production. And
Yeah.
when I started releasing music more consistently this last year, just this last few months, I came back to it,
Mhm.
um, and I wrote more verses to it, and just kind of completed the song and added my own touch to the production and like a choir and more drums and everything. So I kind of co-produced it.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah, this I wish I made the whole beat. This is like the first one that I didn't like fully produce, but I felt like it was it was kind of a sentimental project
Yeah.
that I had stashed away for a long time, and so I just wanted to complete it. And yeah, it was almost kind of a throwaway, but I felt like I
Oh my God. Don't ever throw away. You
yeah,
know, I think we're so critical, with ourselves,
yeah,
artist to artist speaking. Sometimes, I will sit on songs. I've honestly done it for years, like you said. And what may be, trash to us is obviously rewards and gold to someone else, especially
yeah,
needing to hear the delivery, and everything you're talking about. You know, you write a lot
yeah,
about love, do you not?
yeah. I it's pretty much all my songs come together that way too. I'll just find old projects, and I didn't see the potential in them at the time, but I feel like um, sometimes you just have to let it sit and come back to it, and
Absolutely.
then you kind of know how to finish it, or know if it's worth finishing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Well, highs and lows is another one. I mean, you've been dropping them very quickly here. I
yeah,
can't I can't keep up. Okay. Highs and lows, that's another an amazing sound. You had a producer from Germany on that one with you, correct? Eighth Tunes, is it?
yeah, yeah. Apekins is super cool. He's from Germany, and I Adrian actually
AJ.
introduced me to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, showed me a lot of the loops he was making, and I just started going through them and making beats randomly with them, and that song came together. And um, yeah, it's been cool to kind of be in contact with other producers
Yeah.
and keep them networking.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as the nightlife or what's happening out there, I know of course we're still in pandemic, but there are some performances happening and things like that. What's the scene in Oregon right now? Now, of course, now that you're able to have, obviously content and product to share with everyone up there. So what's that like?
Um, I did one song recently, and that was kind of my first and only performance. It was actually a friend invited me to perform, so I just did one in front of. It was like a small crowd, but
Mhm.
it was really cool. It was like maybe 100 people or so. Um, but in general, like Portland doesn't have like the biggest music scene. It's kind of random.
Yeah.
it's not quite like Seattle or LA or anything, but I think it's up and coming for sure. And there's definitely a lot of people that are trying to kind of form a community, and I'm trying to be one of those people to kind of just bring people together and make music and make it a part of the culture here, because it's not huge here, but there's a lot of people that kind of want it to be a part of the new culture in the Portland area. And um, so yeah, I'm just kind of doing networking and meeting new people to try to make that a part of our culture consistently. And um, yeah, I
Absolutely.
rambled on there, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah. I saw you. I saw that. That was the performance, right? That I was kind of going through there.
yeah.
Um, so I always ask people too, when they're you being an artist, and if you're going to another artist concert or obviously show, and being that you're a producer, being that you're a writer, engineer, a singer, a recording artist, what is it that you're taking note of when you're in the audience yourself? What are you paying attention to, Wes?
One thing I started watching a lot lately is just how an artist kind of like hypes the crowd and like works the stage, because you can have a great song and it could be just kind of an awkward performance
Yeah,
because you're not connecting with the audience. And when you're an upcoming artist, most people aren't going to know you unless it's your own show and you're able to sell out a small venue yourself. People are going to
absolutely.
be kind of new to you. So I like to pay attention to how the interaction goes and what works and what doesn't, what songs they play bring the right energy, and just kind of keeping that in the back of my mind when I produce. And um, yeah, for the shows to come, how I'm gonna sort of hold myself and carry myself on stage and interact with the audience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Toxic comes to mind, something that, of course, we we experience from time to time as human beings, dealing with people who are toxic, being in toxic relationships, and of course,
Yeah.
dealing with substances possibly that are toxic. Talk to me about this sound in the process.
Yeah. This one, at the time I was listening to a lot of Kid Leroy, and I like um, just his, he kind of coined the style of guitar beats. Like him and Juice WRLD kind of pioneered a sound, and I wanted to try to make a more poppy version, I guess, of something that I really admired, and it ended up sounding nothing like a Kid Leroy type of song. But I thought it was kind of a cool place to start, and
Yeah,
I thought obviously people probably overuse toxic,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I thought it was just so relatable, because everyone has someone in their life that, even if they're not like a toxic person in general, like,
yeah.
'cause I hate to call people toxic, but there's people that do have toxic tendencies. And
Uh-huh,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, and so the song is just kind of about trying to basically help someone that has a mindset, or just kind of a personality that maybe brings themselves down and other people down, but they don't want any help with it.
Hmm.
And I feel like, yeah, that's just like, I think something that a lot of people have experienced, or if it's a direct relationship too.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, for me, it was kind of just a general thing, like not like a specific relationship, but just certain people that, you know, kind of have toxic tendencies that, um, yeah, they just maybe don't want to help themselves, or
yeah,
don't want to listen to other people, and they're just caught in their
yeah.
ways, I guess. But yeah,
Well, it's something, of course, that is, it could be at work even, toxic work
yeah,
culture.
yeah,
There's so many, yeah, there's so many directions to go with this. So I think it's, again, well done on another, I should say hit, and
yeah.
walking into that, that walks me into my next question as far as what do you think it takes to make a hit? Because you're consistently dropping songs, it's
Yeah.
only half the year. And we're talking about what do you got? Six, seven singles out already? You got
Yeah.
Toxic. We haven't even talked about Paradise and Badly, Switched Up. I mean, all these hit sounds. So what does it take for a song to be recognized as a hit, in your opinion?
Well, I don't know if I have hits yet, but I think to be able to get the best work out of myself, like I just have to stay consistent and
Yes,
always be experimenting because I'm still pretty new to putting my voice on my own production and putting music out in general. And so I try to not just stay in one lane. And I don't know, I think the more you experiment, the more you realize what works with your voice best and what doesn't, and what people connect with the most. So,
absolutely.
um, yeah, I try to, because the first song I put out with my own vocals was just a really simple acoustic song, and
Hmm.
those are really fun to make. But I wanted to kind of push myself and try R&B and something more upbeat and just different stuff that um, I knew I would fail at first, but just kind of to grow my skills and see what people like the best. Because as you were saying earlier, like sometimes you just don't know what people are gonna like, and
Yeah.
so yeah, just consistency. And most of the stuff I make are it just ends up being like throwaways, or I'll scrap a whole song for one idea, and you know, one week maybe I'll work on a song or two every day. Um,
Wow.
and then not have anything. And then
Yeah.
other weeks, maybe I'll only get to one or two projects, and one of them will work like right away. So yeah, you just never know. You just have to stay consistent and always be working and experimenting, I think.
Yeah, and that I find that incredible too, because of course some of the things that I've discovered about you is exactly that, the consistency. And we talked about that also when we first spoke, the Kobe mindset, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Why don't you go into that a little bit for me, because that definitely is your direction, your thought
yeah,
process.
of course, yeah. Yeah, I just admire his work ethic so much. I think it might be weird to some people to compare like the Mamba mentality and like Kobe's aggressive competitiveness to like how you might approach music. But I think you could use it in anything in life that you're trying to accomplish, because music is art, but it's very competitive too. And
Yes.
there's a lot of people trying to do the same thing. And even if you're not competing with them directly, you're still kind of competing with yourself to get better and to, work when you don't feel like it. And
Hmm.
when you have technical difficulties or stuff just isn't sounding right, you just kind of work through it. And I think if I didn't like play sports and admire athletes like Kobe and listen to interviews of his and other athletes, I might be a little too. I just wouldn't have the same work ethic, and so yeah, I think just having that extra grit can really help in the music
Yeah,
industry and anything. So
absolutely. Absolutely. Very profound individual you are, Wes. You also are super talented. You have a designer brand. Well, you are a designer, I should say. You are, of course, a very, very smart businessman.
thank you.
You have come out with the brand West Coast Culture.
Yeah.
You have outerwear, you have hats and beanies, watches, tennis shoes, even. I mean, my God, talk about this incredible brand.
Thank you. First off, it's still definitely a work in progress. It's
Yeah.
it's something I love to do for fun, and it just makes me better creatively to try to apply creativity to um, any interest I have. And clothing just happened to kind of be the first one, and
Yeah.
so I started doing t-shirt designs, and it kind of grew into jackets and accessories and everything. And yeah, it's been really cool, and it's it was kind of unexpected that it became a way to network with a lot of people um, outside of just doing clothing collabs. I would
Hmm.
meet other musicians through doing business, and just really cool people in the community, and photographers especially too. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and when I used to focus on like selling beats and stuff, I use West Coast Culture as my producer name. And so I kind of was doing all this creative stuff under the brand, and so it just kind of became like a creative outlet for me. And
I mean, there's some nice, very, very nice items here. I mean, look at the tennis shoes. You know what I
yeah,
mean? How does one get their own tennis shoes? My God. I mean, this is
yeah,
very impressive, Wes.
thank you.
So, you know, again, congratulations. You're doing quite a bit.
Yeah, thank you. I do my
So,
best.
who are some of your favorite designers or brands that have influenced you?
Yeah, I love Jerry Lorenzo, and rest in peace, Virgil Abloh,
Oh,
recently
wow.
passed
Yeah.
away this
Mhm.
last year. They're super inspirational to me, and Kanye West.
Wow.
Let's see, so many. David Carson, he's more of like a graphic designer, but I still like his style a lot.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I would say mostly Jerry Lorenzo and Virgil Abloh, but there's been all kinds of other designers I would listen to interviews of and just kind of research. So all kinds of different inspiration.
Yeah. Well, again, well done. I mean, we're talking about not just, of course, a brand. I mean, it's merch for you, your label, and everything else that you're walking yourself into. You know,
Yeah.
talk about the importance of having branding presence. I mean, not just as an artist, but yes, also as a designer.
I think it's important to stand out. I mean, people always say to be your own business as an artist, which I think is partially true. You don't have to be super business savvy, but I think if you could separate yourself by applying your creativity to other things, maybe you make your own videos or design and merch. In my case, I think it's just important to not be too one dimensional,
Yeah,
and just really let yourself experiment. And yeah, that's kind of my mindset behind it. And I've seen like other artists. I don't know if you've heard of Fora, but he's kind of like a rapper, singer, more underground. But he did his own clothing line too, and I thought that was really cool. And you see that more nowadays, artists
yeah,
experimenting with their own label or clothing or any other business ventures. It's really cool to see people with an ambitious mindset that accomplish something in music to apply it to other things. And so I just didn't want to limit myself. And I think it's definitely something a lot of other artists could benefit from for sure.
absolutely. Well, I mean, in your position, of course, as a designer, in your opinion, I should ask, what do you think makes a bold fashion statement on a person?
A bold fashion. I think just doing something different.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's cool to be trendy and in style and everything too. Like I love staying on trend, but I think obviously just what stands out the most usually is just being different, wearing something that's a different color than a lot of people wear, or a different
yes,
type of design or a different fit. You see artists do it all the time, and
yeah,
some of them are just doing it for attention, of course, but other artists are just really creative and experiment. And so I think it's mostly just trying to be unique.
I love it. I love it. Well, this is the time, Wes, and we talked about this, where basically, given that you're, of course, a singer, you're a songwriter, I'm into words, you're into words. We do wordplay. No wrong or right answer, of course.
Okay.
It's just basically something you might recognize, possibly a sound, a song title, I don't know. But basically, I call it out and you give me the first thing that comes to your mind. Um, you ready?
Of course, let's go.
Relentless.
Uh, Kobe came to mind first just because we were talking about him, but yeah, Mamba mentality.
I love that. Relentless. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, okay. Sometimes I put two words together. So self-aware.
Mm, Gary V. I don't know if you,
Oh,
yeah,
I love
I've
Gary.
learned, yeah, for sure. I've learned a lot from him. But yeah, he's definitely kind of made that one of his main like preaching points, I guess.
What are
um,
some of the things you're learning from Gary V?
well, like self awareness, just being kind of knowing your lane and just reflecting on yourself and your life to determine what you really want and what you value, and not what other people value for you
Yeah.
or what other people want for you. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
huge mindset shift for me when I listen to Gary Vee.
Absolutely. He's amazing. You know, I follow him on everything. I'm like, even on LinkedIn, I'm like, so I mean,
Yeah,
you know, it's like when something's going on, especially because he gives you that mindset of like, especially when he talks about age. You know, he's like, so many people in their 20s are like so worried about making it. And it's like, oh my God. You know, it's like, if you realize how much time you have, enjoy the journey, And speaking of course, journey, I would have to say the word purposeful for you. What do you think when I say that word?
I think outside yourself, something like a contribution you can make that's outside yourself.
I love that. Yeah. And last one, endurance.
Consistency and motivation.
Yes.
Yeah, drive, all the above.
I love it. Wow. Incredible. So you know this industry, of course, has a lot going on when it comes to entertainment, as you already know, recording artists, designers, there's acting, people are models. Where else do you see yourself going? I mean, I always wonder, and the second part of the question is, have you ever been in any type of plays or anything, theater?
No, I always have found acting really interesting though. I feel like I'm probably a little too shy for acting, but it would be really cool to experiment with it at some point because I've admired the art form so much. Like when I listen to Will Smith talk about his craft, it's really admirable. And yeah, so I don't know about acting, but maybe songwriting. I've kind of dabbled in that a little bit. Pretty much anything in music and style and fashion. There's so many lanes, it's hard to really know exactly how things are going to play out, but I think it'll all kind of define itself along the way and make the path will become more clear along the way what I might want to experiment with. But yeah, I mean, for now, I kind of got my hands full, so I'll probably stick with what I do, and it'll become more clear to me what I want to focus on the most. But
yeah. Well, what do you like to do in your spare time, I wonder?
Yeah, I don't skate as much anymore, but I used to skate a lot, and it was really fun to just hang out with friends and go to the skate park and just hang out and feel free, just not having to. It's a sport that you don't have to worry about the score. It's pretty much you competing against yourself and teaching yourself how to, be tough and get back up. And yeah, it really teaches you work ethic, and it's just a really like freeing feeling to skate. I don't know, but
yeah.
Other than that, I spend so much time on music, it's kind of insane. So that's definitely my main thing right now. But and of course, design and my brand are kind of like my hobbies too. So even though they're kind of my career goals and ambitions, it's like they're my hobbies. So that's pretty much what I spend all my time doing.
Yeah, I love that. Well, what would you say your way of life, what you're doing and, how you are as an individual, what does it say about you as a person?
I think I'm just always looking for new goals and new things to accomplish. Just trying to find my own limits and see what I can make happen, because I've always kind of had a chip on my shoulder being from a smaller town, and kind of being envious in a way of people my age just really accomplishing a lot, and thinking like I had to be from a certain city, or I had to be from a certain family, or have a certain connection. And yeah, I think just I think I just have something to prove to myself, and like I
Yeah.
just want to go as far as I can with everything I'm interested in, and just see what happens.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I always ask people, have you ever broken a promise to yourself?
That's a really good question. I think I definitely had like gym goals that I didn't
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I didn't hold, but nothing like in the grand scheme of things that would completely like change my life. But definitely small like disciplinary things. Sometimes
yeah,
like I'll feel too tired to go to the gym or whatever, or um yeah, I think that's probably a good example for me.
yeah,
But I definitely try to keep promises to myself because I think that it's definitely a driver of high self-esteem if you can kind of follow through with things. So it's
yeah.
definitely always something that I try to keep in the back of my mind to not like if I set a goal for myself where I make a plan to follow through with it. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Absolutely. Well, I would definitely say yes. Keep listening to Gary Vee because it's like literally a free mentor, and I mean a real
for
one.
sure.
Like a real
Yeah,
life. Like everything. I never say anyone's perfect, but I mean like he is like therapy. You know, he's
yeah,
just the
no,
perfect businessman to listen to, and in saying what you said, like you felt like you have to prove something, and the thing is, you are great. You're a great sound. I mean, your voice, when I heard your cover, what was it? Another Love, I think. The
yeah,
cover you have posted. You're just your sound. I mean, you don't have to do too much. Very relaxing, soothing voice that
thank
makes you want to stop and listen. And that was when I first heard you. I was like, well, wait a minute.
you.
And so,
Thank
so
you.
when AJ told me, I was like, let me listen to the rest, more of his music and stuff, because I was just like, wow. So always, remember that, I have to remind myself as well. 'Cause I think, again, as an artist, you can always find yourself, you're competing, this is a competition,
Yeah,
yeah. But I think if we just stay in our own lane, I mean, there's no traffic. And that's real. Not just a quote. There's no traffic if you're doing what you do best. And I mean, look at what you're doing. I mean, look at West Coast culture. Look at the brand. Look how young you are, so give yourself credit, pat yourself on the back for that. 7 sounds and it's only June. I mean, hello, July, I mean, literally first week of July, and look at how many projects you've completed already, you
yeah,
know? So it's like, woosah, breathe, you know, but keep
yeah.
going.
Yeah, sure. I forget to take a breath sometimes. I
Yeah,
definitely kind of become a bit of a workaholic, but I mean, I'm young, so I feel like I can push myself a little more. So,
yeah, yeah. Well, great
yeah.
job. Tell me this, what's the best advice that you've been given? And then also second part, what's the best advice you've ever given to someone else?
Hmm. Best advice. Man, I've learned so much the last couple of years. It's hard to like pinpoint one thing,
Yeah,
but
I know.
I think kind of what we were talking about earlier, just defining. Oh, sorry, my phone.
Oh, you're okay.
Um, I think just defining what you want for your own life and
Mhm.
what you value and what you see yourself doing, and focusing on that and not worrying too much about what people think,
Absolutely.
especially early on in the process, because um, everyone's going to have their opinions, and sometimes it's your parents, sometimes it's your friends or people on the internet that might doubt you or hopefully encourage you, but you kind of have to like just tune everyone out and listen to your own voice. And I think that's something I've been getting a lot better at. And that's definitely the best advice I think I've gotten. And it's not necessarily just from one person, but I mean, Gary Vee talks about that a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, just so many interviews I listen to, so many people I talk to have kind of say that same thing in their own way. Just staying true to yourself and what makes you happy and what like just contributing to the world what you can and what you think you really have, and not being afraid of stepping outside the box and being judged by others and just kind of going for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I mean, things that basically keep yourself on your mind. You know, yeah, think about others, but focus on you and what you're doing and how far you've come.
Yeah.
And even my mom, and family, they remind me of that all the time. Like, I don't care how old, obviously I'm a lot older than you are. But at the same token, I'm still here, I'm alive. So if you're alive, your dreams can still, of course, be conquered, if you will, and this is the journey. The journey is a part of it, because I always look at people that are the people that I think are my influencers and that I'm influenced by, and I look at them and they're still going. They still have goals outside of what we think is making it. We're like, they're mainstream, but it's like they might have goals to be a designer and they're not. We're gonna look at ourselves and we're looking at them, and it's like, don't compare yourself, because comparison, as they say, is the root of a joy stealer. It steals joy when you compare.
Yeah.
So what would you say that we all have in common beside our genes, that make us human?
I think the desire to fit in and also to find meaning. I think everyone at some point asks themselves, either what am I supposed to do or why am I here, or both. And I think everyone struggles with that or is motivated by that at some point in their life, whether it's just graduating high school or college, or getting a job later in life and then kind of questioning your path thus far. But I think just those questions, for sure, because it's pretty much as deep as you can get, and everyone, I think, wonders the same thing.
Absolutely. Well, going back to some of your influencers, I know you had mentioned in our first conversation, Bryson Tiller, Justin Bieber. If you could collaborate with anyone during this journey and during this process and this career that you're going to be on here, who would it be?
Ed Sheeran, for sure.
Ooh,
Ed Sheeran is by far my favorite. I don't know if you've heard of Dean Lewis. He's amazing too. James Bay, but I think number one would be Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, it's so funny because every time I hear him, like a song or something that comes on, I literally feel like something great is about to happen.
An Ed Sheeran song?
Yeah, it's like this energy, his energy is just like crazy. It's insane, so yeah, I could totally see that. I can hear your sound. I can see a collaboration with Ed Sheeran. Do you like your music loud, or do you kind of like it quiet for easy listening?
Well, in terms of mixing, I try to keep it like somewhat loud without like over compressing it and limiting it to sound like it loses its dynamics. So sometimes when it's a little quieter, you get a nicer feel, but you might lose a little excitement. So I kind of try to find a balance. And it kind of depends on the production too and what I'm going for. But if it's more acoustic, it doesn't have to be super loud and punchy or anything. It could just be mellow. But if it has a drop of some sort, it definitely has to be a little louder or just more clear to have that energy. So it kind of just.
Absolutely. Do you listen to the radio, Wes?
A little, mostly Spotify and YouTube. I kind of just go through random songs all the time.
Me too. Yeah, I'm big on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. I'm always looking for the next big thing.
Yeah.
Sound that no one's heard of, yet. And I could say, guess what I found, Guess who I found?
Yeah.
I have a very important question. Not that none of these were important, but I mean, what would be your dream sandwich?
Oh man, I have no idea. You're asking me on the wrong day because I just got so sick of sandwiches recently. Because I'm like, I'm like the worst cook ever. So like all I've been eating for lunch like the past 2 months is sandwiches, and leftover sandwiches for dinner. So
Yeah.
um, pretty much uh, a sandwich that is as far from a regular sandwich as it could be.
So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think of food, when it comes, especially I've been meal prepping lately.
Yeah.
He's trying to get on this kick to really, eat better and minimize just kind of this grabbing, especially fast food, because if I'm out a lot and driving, I'm always just stop somewhere and it's just like, no,
Yeah. I do that all the time.
yeah. So especially like, my favorite, of course, if I'm going to stop is always Jack in the Box and egg rolls and tacos. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
enough is enough. Make your own food.
What's your fast food vice?
I would have to say, yeah, Jack in the Box. I mean, Jack in the
Yeah.
Box. Yeah, I'm always like, if I'm at Jack in the Box, I'm going to eat the tacos, and that no one likes those tacos. Like they're so smashed up, but I love them. I love those tacos.
I've never even tried them. I'm sure they're good, but
They're like hella good to me. They're like, what is that? I'm like, it's a taco, but it's not like a Taco Bell taco, but it's like usually they're like completely smashed.
uh, yeah.
It's like one of my favorite if I'm gonna have fast food. So I have another one. If you were a farmer, what type of crop would you want to grow?
Um, hmm. I don't know if strawberries counts, but
Oh,
I
fruit.
grew up, yeah, I grew up next to a strawberry farm, and we'd always steal strawberries whenever we could, and like it was beautiful too in the summer. So I
Yeah,
think that's really cool.
yeah. Are you neat or messy?
It depends on the day. I'm mostly clean. I'm very like minimalistic, but
Ooh,
what the busier that I get, the messier like my room and my car tends to be. So I definitely like to be as clean as possible. It just doesn't always happen.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Lay's or Fritos?
Fritos.
Ooh, like the
Yeah.
chili flavor.
Yeah, any Fritos, yeah. Yeah.
How important is compatibility when it comes to your friendships?
Um I mean, in terms of like being similar, it doesn't really matter to me too much as long as like there's a good vibe. Because most of my friends are completely different than myself,
Yeah.
but we get along really well just because we respect each other and we have a good time. But um, I don't know. Do you mean like compatibility, like similarities, or just like
Yeah, just getting along. I mean, because some people, of course, I mean, obviously opposites attract when it comes to, obviously relationships and love. But
yeah,
I always wonder with different people and the relationships they have, is it important to be compatible with just, someone you're not in a love, relationship with? Is it important that we're the same, or is it
yeah,
a good thing that, we're different? Because, we have different mindsets and different
yeah.
ideas.
Of course, yeah. I'm super interested in people that have different personalities because
Yeah,
I mean, I think everyone's very different, but you
different.
will find
Yeah.
like personality types that might be similar. But I love to hang out around people that are more extroverted, people that are more introverted, and
Oh,
it just it yeah, I'm just interested in people in general and just kind of letting them be themselves and having a good time. So it doesn't have to be that we're similar in any way, really.
yeah. Talk to me about this logo.
Yeah. Well, I needed a logo, or AJ told me I needed a logo.
Mhm.
So that day, I kind of just started going through some minimalistic, modern ideas, and I was messing around with just different fonts and stuff, and I kind of ended up by accident creating that logo to look like it's a W with two
I was gonna
C's.
say W.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it was originally to represent West Coast culture, so that way it had each letter in the symbol. But I still use it because even though I just go by West as an artist, like I think it kind of ties everything together pretty well. And I just kind of like the minimal aesthetic, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. It's very unique, very different.
Thank you.
Even when I was, moving it and to take it and put it on the flyer, I was like, this shit is dope.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thank you. It means a lot. I love when people like my designs because
Yeah, it's like,
sometimes you just don't know.
yeah, it's very, very, I mean, it's different. I've never seen anything like it, honestly. So which is grand, you don't want something that replicates, I see a lot of times, especially seeing so many artists and interviewing so many artists, sometimes I see like the same cover and I'm just like, well, this looks just like what I saw. And I can't, a lot of
Yeah.
times I don't want to say anything, I'm like, are you using the same, artist that's doing their covers? Because it's like the same cover, so you have to be careful with that because yeah, you want it to be unique and different. This is definitely that. So we know a lot about your strengths, Wes. We talked a lot about, of course, obviously you as a designer. We know you, of course, are an incredible recording artist, producer, engineer. Tell me what one of your weaknesses is.
Well, cooking, we already went over that. That's definitely one of my worst. But I don't know. You probably already noticed I stumble over my words a little bit sometimes.
No, I didn't notice.
I'm super introverted. I wouldn't say that's a weakness, but sometimes it does make people think I'm a little awkward at times, like in interviews or just whatever. But I guess, yeah, probably that.
I would have to say eccentric.
Okay, I'll try to turn it into a positive because there's some cool introverts out there. So
Absolutely.
I'll pretend to be mysterious. Yeah, I'll pretend like my introvertedness is just being mysterious and that I'm not actually shy.
So funny. Well, what is it that you love most about the night sky?
Um, hmm. I think well, when you're out with your friends or even just by yourself and you have time to kind of relax and just look at the sky, it makes you kind of wonder, I guess, put you in a wondrous mood and think about your life and just what's beyond everything and maybe you think about aliens and stuff. I always think about aliens when I look at the stars and yeah, it just makes me curious what's out there and it's just kind of calming, I think.
Absolutely.
Especially summer nights too.
Yeah.
It's warm.
Absolutely. Well, would you, if you had the chance to go back in time and change anything, would you do it?
I would probably change a lot of little things. I probably would have, if I were able to get myself to start everything I'm doing now just a little bit earlier and not be scared to jump into it, I would do that. Even though I'm still young, it's just like I know I had the capability to do some of the things I'm doing now when I was maybe in high school or so, and I just kind of I don't know if I held back or if I just didn't really have a vision for myself yet. But those things you can't really control at the time. But if I could, I definitely would have try to give myself a little bit of a jump start, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this is a saturated industry, Wes.
Yeah.
So talk to me about staying relevant.
Well, I'm trying to become relevant. So
he's like, let me become relevant first, and I'll say that. Well, you are definitely relevant. Okay.
Yeah, I think kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, just being consistent and standing out, being different in like any way you can. And I think doing the design and being my own producer and kind of having these other creative outlets can set me apart because I do all my own branding and mixing and everything. So I think that'll intrigue different communities. Like producers might be interested in what I do because I'm also an artist, but I can relate to their profession and their hobbies. Or certain vocalists will be interested because um, I think singers are kind of just drawn to watching other singers do covers and release their own songs, especially if they're um, not as big of an artist. And if they see that you produce too, that kind of just makes you a little more unique. So I think just doing everything you can to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what can you tell us without obviously telling us? What's next?
Figuring that out right now. I think I have so many random projects on my computer. I always start like a project or two every day. So I have like probably over 200 projects that
Oh my God.
I need to kind of go back through and just find which ones are worth finishing. And um, I honestly don't know yet, but I have a lot in mind. So, um, I mean, I think I'm defining my sound a little more to be kind of a mellow pop sound,
Yeah.
but I have a little R&B inspiration. So, um, I think I'll try to combine the R&B inspiration of mine with the last couple of pop songs I released and just kind of see what kind of sound I can create and make something a little more unique, but that still fits in um, today's culture of music, I guess. Something that people
Absolutely.
can relate to.
Yeah.
That's not too out there, but still has its own sound.
Yeah. Well, are you still making beats for others or selling beats?
I do when I can.
Okay.
I think for me, it's kind of almost just to practice. Like,
Mm,
I still make beats all the time, but I never like when I'm creating something, I don't always have in mind that I'm going to use this for myself or I'm going to send it to a certain person or I'm going to list it for sale. Um, it kind of just depends. I'm just always working on music in general. And so I have like a bunch of beats on my hard drive and a bunch of pre-written songs and stuff. And so whenever the opportunity presents itself, I'll have something for another artist if I want to work with them or, um, production for myself. If I have a lyric idea, I could go back to that. So um, I think releasing my own music with my own vocals is more the focus, but
yeah,
I try to stay sharp on my producing skills too.
absolutely. Well, in closing, I want to say, well done. Up to this point, you are very impressive. Your artistry speaks volumes. You have, and again, amazing sound,
Thank you.
and you are an incredible designer.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. Without overwhelming you too much there, I just wanted to tell you that, and I appreciate you, as shy as you are, you say, taking the time and speaking with me tonight, because obviously this is what you're going to be doing for a long time. People are going to want to know a little bit about who you are, who you are behind the brand, West Coast Culture. So take us out and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can find your brand, your social platforms, and of course, the website.
Yeah, my brand Instagram is West Coast Culture _co, and that has my all my links. My artist Instagram is Wes _PNW, but both accounts have the link to everything else. So Instagram is the best way to find everything in mine. My Spotify is just Wes, but it's kind of hard to find me right now because not a lot of people have discovered me this far. But yeah, all the links to everything are on my Instagram. So
Absolutely. Well, and they can type in the songs. I think it pops up really quickly that way. And then once they
yeah,
do that, and then of course save you and follow you.
yeah.
Makes it easy. Well, I'm not going to hold you too much longer. This has been incredible. Of course, again, we have just seen and witnessed a greatness. If you are watching, of course, you have just witnessed an interview with Wes. This is episode 129. You're watching the face behind the brand. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you can, of course, stay tuned in to all these amazing interviews and, of course, see what's coming next. I appreciate you so much for watching. Peace.
You say the world feels loud and you just need to shut things out. And it can feel the most lonely when everyone's around. When everything feels broken and you're feeling low. When the walls are closing in, I hope you know I won't ever let go. I'll be there when you need someone to hold. Through the highs and lows, I'll lift you up when you're needing it the most. When you feel like you're drowning, I'll keep you hanging on. 'Cause you know I won't ever let go. I know you feel you're sinking low, but I won't let you drown. And soon we'll laugh and know in time we'll figure this out. When everything feels broken and you're feeling low, when the walls are closing in, I hope you know